Hello everybody, thank you for being here. Today we're going to discuss about dark and abusive leadership. And actually this is the first part of a series of 3 lectures regarding the issue. At this point I would like to thank Innova Indirect Project for giving me the opportunity to be here and talk to you about the issue. Before talking about the dark leadership or abusive leadership or unethical leadership, I would like to say a few things about ethics, power, and influence, which I believe are the critical factors of practicing dark leadership within the organization. The actual part of the actual aim of the course of this lecture is not only to understand whether or not our leader practices dark and abusive leadership, but to move a step further on and during the process of self-awareness understand whether or not we are practicing dark and abusive leadership to the others in our organization. Few things about leadership is a combination of at least 4 very important factors. The first one is the characteristics of the leader. The second one is the internal environment, the job that we do. The third one is the external environment, the political, the economical, the technological environment. And of course, the the type of workers that we have, whether they are experienced or not, whether uh, they are educated or not, they know about the job or not. Well, the combination of those 4 factors are actually forming the leadership style that we practice in the organization. So, what is power? Few days ago, I asked my 17-year-old daughter, "Why did you do that?" And she told me, "Because I can." And actually, this is the definition of force: to do whatever you want, despite any reactions in the organization. This is Weber's definition about power. And after the power comes the ability to influence others. And sometimes power is is given to a person, or sometimes power is given to a place in the organizational chart. And the power exists where it is recognized as power. And let me tell you a paradigm about that. Sometimes, or imagine there is a door with the label manager on it, or the door with the label CEO on it. Well, this door has a power, and every time we go near the door, we have that sense of fear because this door has a power. So imagine that door is closed or open. That actually indicates the type of leadership that we practice in the organization. That is practiced in the organization. And try. to figure out, is the power remaining on the door or to the person which is behind it? Does the power exist to the actual person or to the organizational chart which is represented by a person? So the indicators of power contain symbols, contain determinant forces, strengths, reputation. Power is a mixture of all those things, and it comes from our knowledge, from our specialization, from the place that we have on the chart, from many things. And through that power, we can control the issues of discussion, we can control the allocation of resources and funds, and determine the decision-making process. So this power, is it rewarding power? Is it legal power? Is it coercive power that we exercise? Is it charismatic power? Is it the power of expertise? There are many forms of power that is practiced in the organization or not, and we have to choose. And the type of power that we will choose shows the type of leadership that we are practicing in the organization. So what kind of relationship that we want in the organization? That's something that we have to decide and practice at the same time. The acquisition of interpersonal power is from doing the right thing and do the right thing with the right visible order. And through that visible order, we give the paradigm to the others. And the acquisition of interpersonal power is through the communication that we have through through our colleagues, um, vertically to the management and the existing um, teams in the organization. How we maintain the interpersonal power? By doing the right thing, by establishing charismatic image, and and by recapturing the past negative events and conditions, and providing a vision of the organization. This is the actual roots of maintaining the interpersonal power, which is very important for the organization because the interpersonal power is the power that remains between formally and informally between the co-workers in the organization. So what comes after power is the influence, is the result of strength, and we can exercise influence through a range of strategies. And influence is to control subject of discussion, select the criteria of decision, form coalitions, cooperate, and access information databases. All those are the result of strength and what comes after it, influence. So this combination of influence and power leads to behaviors, and leads to the commitment of employees towards the vision of the leader and the company. So, leadership, whether it is dark or not, ends to attitudes or is very closely associated to attitudes. So, what are those attitudes and how they are formed? Well, attitudes are evaluative statements. I like my job. I love my job. And through that statement, we express an attitude toward the work. Attitudes are quite complex to understand and to provoke. And a good leader, an effective leader provokes the right attitudes within the organization. Or there are three main components. The first one is the cognitive component. The second one is um, the emotional component and the actual behavioral component of the attitude. The statement, my salary is low, is cognitive because we know that our salary is low. And through that, we develop a feeling, an emotion. We are angry that our salary is low. And this could lead to behavioral effects. For instance, I will try to find another job. This is a behavior, which is the result of the cognitive and the emotional part of the attitude. So, knowledge of the situation, the themic, the emotional part leads to behaviors and attitudes. Where which attitude is immoral or not? Which attitude is dark or not? Because let me remind you that we as a leader can provoke behavior and attitudes. Well, an abusive leadership is a leadership that stems from violating the ethical standards of work and procedures. First of all, we need to have a clear organizational chart that will clearly indicate our assignments and what we have to do in the organization. And further on, we have to make an overall state of rules regarding the procedures of the things that we do in the organization. So this violation of the chart assignment and the the rules, the ethical rules that are developed within the organization leads to an ethical leadership. Well, what can make us unethical or not? It's also a multi-balanced situation. First of all, everybody loves himself. Narcissism exists, and the extent that we love ourselves and the extent that we put ourselves in front of the others may indicate or may be a cause of abusive leadership. And of course, the fear of uncertainty about the outcome could lead could cause abusive leadership, and of course the incentives of power and beliefs, political, social beliefs, and negative life issues, and there's a lack of self-regulations. All those could be causes that could lead to abusive leadership. And however, a catastrophic and abusive leadership behavior lies not only on individual characteristics, but can be triggered by a situation or conditions of the environment of the leader, meaning that the internal and external environment could cause also an abusive leadership. Other endogenous or exogenous causes are the alienation between the workers and the organization, the lack of solidarity in the teams, and the lack of common goals and purposes, the lack of support from the family, the negative patterns, the stressing factors, and the competition, and the exposure to negative, and the financial needs. Actually, a lot of things could lead and cause that leadership. The special forms of abusive leadership is the insincere leadership, saying lies to our co-workers, the authoritarian leadership, incompetent staff. This also is an abusive leadership. The restrictive leadership also, as well as laissez-faire leadership, where whoever wants whatever he wants or she wants. So this is an abusive leadership. The main impact, though, of abusive leadership is the lack of trust, and the main impact of abusive industry leadership is that the teams are lacking their cohesiveness, and solidarity does not exist because, as I have told you earlier, there is no trust. And this is that we're going to talk about in the next session a few minutes from now. Thank you.